I've given you a bit of a gist of system technologies. I know I may not have covered all of them, but please do consult your guideline on some of those stuff. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Section B, question 4, system technologies. Every general purpose computing device needs both RAM and storage. So from what I said, this is RAM is volatile and storage is the one that you can edit. Briefly explain the function of a RAM. Okay, RAM stands for random access memory. Now one function it has is caching, to ensure that the computer and caching is it's all about the speed of the computer, so it actually assists in the speed of the computer. Okay, give one difference between RAM and storage besides their difference in function. Okay, I remember saying RAM is volatile, storage is manipulatable, so it's actually permanent. So RAM, it will lose its information as soon as the computer shuts down, but storage, it remains there, so it's permanent. So RAM is volatile, temporary, storage is permanent. Give two input devices that are found in a smartphone but not in a typical desktop computer. Okay, number one, in a smartphone. Okay, when we talk about smartphone, we talk about touch screens. Please, guys, please, touch screen. Okay. Now, an input device, basically, we have the touch screen, or rather the touching sensor there. But now let's talk a bit more about a smartphone. It has things like the gyroscope. It has heartbeat sensors. These are not things you'll find in a typical desktop computer. Some of them, they have biometric scanners, such as the fingerprint and the iris scanners. So these are the kind of input devices you would want to talk about here: iris scanners, gyroscopes, and I'm sure you don't know what a gyroscope is. That's basically the one that measures your tilt, a tilt of the phone. It helps in those gaming when you just tilting the phone around and stuff. Some of them, they have something called the lux, which measures light inside the room. Okay. And then we have biometric scanners, such as the iris scanner. It scans the eye. Okay. Some they have fingerprint scanners. So I'm sure you're seeing that I'm mentioning input devices here. Inputting data into it. Okay. So those are some of the input devices that you find in a smartphone, but not in a typical desktop computer. Okay. Moving on. Give two reasons why portable computers are increasingly being designed not to include optical drives. Okay, now modern technology, we're no longer working with CDs. We no longer work with CDs. We're now working with USBs and memory cards and all of those. So optical drives, it's all about those CDs and floppy disks. Okay, so two reasons why. Number one, we want to decrease the size of the portable computers. Okay, so it's all about decreasing their size, making them more portable. For instance, the ultra notebooks, they need to be like ultra thin so that they are more portable. So if it has an optical drive, I mean, it will be big in size, so they want them to be as small as possible. Okay, so you want to increase the portability of them. Okay, so optical drives would make it big, so you eliminate the optical drives. Okay, number two, you'd want the accessibility of files to be high. So if you were to compare optical drives and USB drives, optical drives, in terms of size, you can reach a maximum of like 2 gig or 5 gig, but then with USBs, you can reach all the way to terabytes, like 1 terabyte and stuff. So optical drives have less space. Okay, while removable drives have a higher space. Okay, 4.4. You are working with a wired mouse that suddenly freezes or fails to respond. Assume that the mouse itself is clean and not damaged. Give two troubleshooting techniques you would use. You could try to get the mouse working again. Okay, so assume that the mouse has a receiver. So number one, check if the mouse is on. Okay, because it can just turn off. Okay, just to check first if the mouse is on. Number two, you'd want to check if it still has battery power, if the mouse still has battery power to be running. Okay, because it can just shut off if it runs out of power. If it's running on a rechargeable battery, then it's run out of use. Then if it's an unrechargeable one, then the internal battery is flat, then you just need to change the battery. So those are like the two troubleshooting is like problem solving. Okay, 4.5, discuss two ways in which a user could ensure that data is not deleted and altered by mistake. Okay, to make sure that it's not deleted or altered by mistake. Number one, insert read-only attributes. Okay, read-only means you can just open the files, but you cannot edit them, and you cannot what do you call this, you cannot remove them. The contents have to be used as is. They cannot be manipulated or removed. Okay, another way is to add security features to it, okay, such as encryptions. Okay, 4.6, explain why business invoice statements etc. are generally converted to PDFs before they are sent to customers. Okay, if you look at a PDF file, you can have multiple elements. You can have text, you can have images, you can have colors, and all of those. That's one reason why you would have you'd want them to be converted to PDFs. And it can be open on the other side, and they can open it from any different device, and it will not change the structure in which that document is in. Meaning that if you had a PDF and you had a picture here, if it appears on the other side, even if the screen is small, the picture will be there, you see. So the format in which it comes in, it will be the same in wherever you go, you see. 4.7, give two limitations of data projectors of showing computer output compared to normal monitors. Okay, data projectors, so they're projecting light, meaning the quality on a monitor and the quality on a projector are very much different in terms of color, in terms of quality. That's the two limitations, as well as reaction speed is different. Okay, the monitor, it happens quick. I mean, it's attached directly to the computer itself, but then now the projector, it's just projecting what it sees, but then it also has to process what it collects from the box, and then what it projects as well. Okay, I mean, both of them are output devices, but then they are different. Okay, 4.8, name two pieces of equipment one would need for virtual reality. So you want a world in your mind, you want to recreate it. So we're looking at fake stuff. Okay, virtual reality, it's just imagine a game that felt real. You're not just clicking buttons, but you're doing more of action. So the kind of equipment is, you will need sensors, and you will need virtual reality goggles, which are those things you would like put over your eyes there, so you can actually see the virtual world. So that's like the pieces of equipment you need. Okay, state one example of how virtual reality can be used except for gaming. Okay, in the military. Okay, in the military, that's one use. It can be used to simulate for the military. They can simulate a war to train the cadets for the military. Yeah, that's one way. These are my answers, so of course you should have your own. Okay, the IT learners are considering constructing a drone as part of an awareness drive for new technology. A 3D printer can be used to print the parts of the drone. What is a drone? It's the flying thingy. But I'm sure you guys can figure out what I mean by the flying thing. But basically, a drone, it's a piece of technology that can transport itself to different areas. Okay, 4.10.2, State two possible benefits of 3D printing printers for printing parts of the benefits. Okay, it saves money. If I'm printing the parts, then I don't exactly have to go to a store and buy the parts already made. I can just make them on my own and save money. Number two, it will save time, and it's flexible. I can make the part as I want it to be. Okay, as long as I'm able to use the CAD software. So it's flexible. You can make the part as you want it to be. Okay, other than buying those that are already there, and you'll be complaining that I wish it had this, I wish it had that. But now with 3D printers, you can make it to have that upon your own desires. See, a computer game has the following hardware system requirements. And now I remember the word Intel. Intel is a manufacturer of processors, and I remember saying if you have i3, so this is the third generation of CPUs, give the general function of the item specified. Okay, so here they just want the function of a CPU, and it's basically processing input to give you the output. Assuming that the DVD drive will only be used to install the game, briefly explain how one would install the game on a computer that does not have a DVD drive. Well, they can download the installation archive or the installation program from the internet, or they can deliver the installation program via a USB. Those are other ways. Give one other common hardware requirement besides those listed above. Okay, space. Yes, space. You know, the game can occupy a certain a certain amount of storage. You know, the game can maybe take 8 gig or 2 gig or 10 megabytes. So that's another hardware requirement that should be specified, and it's a very common one. Okay, state 3 advantages of SSDs. I'm sure you guys know that from the previous one, HDD and SSD. I remember comparing the two of them. SSD has no moving parts, so it lasts longer. It processes information faster because it just has binary codes and it reads with a laser, and it lasts longer. Yeah, that's very much it. You know, internet and network technologies, that's the next part. Okay, now now I need to explain a little something. For you to have a network, you need two things. There is a server. Okay, server. Let me use a different color for me. There's a server, and then there's a client. Now you can have multiple clients, of course, and also multiple servers. Now these things will be, you know, interconnected, isn't it? Now there's a way in which these things communicate. Okay, there are rules upon in which they connect. They interact. Let's say this server wants to send a file to this device. So how does it know that it's this device it's sending to? It's not like they have a phone number or something. So yes, they do have a phone number, but it's not a phone number as per se. Okay, but now they are now called IP addresses, Internet Protocol addresses. Now these things are in the form something 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 dot something 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 dot something 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 dot. You see, so it's like an address, you know. So each device in the network needs to have a different IP address, because imagine if you had this having the same IP address as this, and now this one wants to send a certain message to address 192.168.1.1.1, and then this one is 192.168.1.1.1, and this one is 192.168.1.1.1. So they have the same address. So if it sends it off, it will end up sending it to both of them, or it can actually cause this one to have a buffer overflow and will probably even shut down. Okay, So they need to have each of them need to have IP addresses of their own, just so that they can be able to have clear communication between one another, because you need to know that there's also communication between the clients themselves. Okay. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Let's keep going. The computers in the cable network are used by all staff members, and the WLAN, wide local area network, is used by clients. Clients are connected to servers. Clients are basically the member devices of that network. Okay, give one reason why a wireless network is more suitable for the clients. Now let's see. These are computers. We can have wired networks for these ones, isn't it? A switch, what a switch does is that it basically redirects traffic. The switch is the one that knows, hey, I'm looking for the server, and then it will take you to the server. Hey, I want the administration side, and it will take you to the administration side. Now here we have the clients. Now they're saying, why would you want a wireless network for these? I mean, if you look at these things, these are mobile devices. Like the phone, you need to move this around. Laptop, you need to move this around, as well as the smartphone. So I mean, that's the reason why you would want a wireless network. It's for portability. Okay. Give one reason why all devices must have a unique IP address. It's so that the devices in the network can communicate properly with one another without messages going to the wrong devices. Okay. Give one possible reason why clients using the wide local area network could experience slow connection speed sometimes. Okay, number 2, if you have multiple devices in a network, the more the devices, the slower the connection for each individual device. Okay, now the 2 reasons why, right? So more will give you less speed. Okay, number 2, if you have a slow server, or rather a slow host for that for that network. For instance, if this server is slow and you want to get from this laptop, you want info from this, or let's rather say if this Wi-Fi has a very low bandwidth or a very low internet connection, it's slow, right? So you'll have a slow connection yourself. So meaning that if you have a slow host, you'll have a slow connection. Okay, that's another reason. But remember, these are my answers, not yours. Okay. The local area network of the administration office uses a client-server model and provides internet access. Okay, so that's the internet. It goes via the Wi-Fi router or the ADSL router, and in between that there's a firewall. Okay, let's see. A client-server model. Okay, and provide internet access. Name 2 services that can be provided by an ISP besides connection to the internet. An ISP, let's look at MTN for instance. You cannot only just buy data, you can also buy some minutes, phone calls, and you can also send texts, through these internet service providers, modern internet service providers. They connect you to the internet, 1. 2, they can also give you the capabilities of performing phone calls and also sending short message texts. So I believe I've given you two services that they provide. Okay, now state 2 benefits of using an ADSL connection, internet connection. Okay, and also connection speeds and stuff. God, I'm tired. Explain the function of a switch as part of a local area network. I remember saying that it redirects traffic, internet traffic. So for this PC to connect to the internet, it's the switch that actually has to take its traffic to this pathway, so that the switch has the ability to figure out whether you wanna go to, the traffic should be going this way or that way in terms of the administration. Okay, so basically it's the switch that kind of directs the traffic, hence the name says it switches the traffic. Okay. The LAN can be used by the administration staff. The LAN used by administration staff is fiber optic cables. What medium is used by fiber optic cables to transmit signals? Glass. Okay, in fiber optic cables there's glass. It's basically cables with glass inside, and that is really cool. It gives two reasons why fiber optic cables will be more suitable for use in a LAN than UTP cables. Okay, UTP cables are like the old copper cables, you know, they're relatively slow. Okay, they're slow. Fiber optic cables are quite fast. You see. So now if you're looking at administrative stuff, you'd want to perform like a lot of tasks. So if you have a lot of tasks, you want to do them faster. So if you want fast, then you need fiber optics. Okay. Give two disadvantages of FTP technology for the transfer of large files. Okay, FTP is file transfer protocol. It's basically a way of transferring files between devices, and this can happen wired or wirelessly, and this happens with devices that are like over the internet or within the same network, meaning that, let's say this was an FTP server, which means its hard drive will be the drive of that FTP server, which means this laptop can actually get files from that. So this admin guy can upload files to this server, and the laptop dude can actually also download that very same file from that using FTP. So it's just a way of transferring files, you know, over a certain protocol, and FTP happens on port number 21. Okay, now larger files may cause the system to crash, of course. Okay, it can cause the system to crash, and it slows down the connection as well. Okay, yeah. And I'm sure the remaining questions are very easy. Social implications are those that I'll need to look at, and those will be the last thing I will look into. Thank you.